Okay. I myself, Michelle's on assignment. Welcome to episode 53 of the Shelter Cats podcast, my labor of feline love. And I tried a couple of times with this episode. We had one guest that didn't work out, another guest that didn't work out. I recorded one last week, and I was just not happy with how it came out. So this topic has been something I've been thinking about doing for a while. And between episode 52, which was the mammoth episode, and episode 54, which is another uh, long, chock full of content episode, I thought I'd do a palate cleanser episode. And something I used to do more in season one, but I thought I'd get back to it. So, welcome to episode 53. So, today is February 22nd. It's about 6 p.m. My cats have had their dinner and they're sleeping. So, it's a nice, relaxing evening. And I have my favorite, I call it my recording hoodie on. I should probably dress better, but do you actually care? No, I don't think you care. So this is something that I touched upon in early episodes when I did episodes on how to, I don't know, seek, how to look for a cat to adopt, and what to do about bringing your cat home. So I thought I would kind of expand on that and do something that I want to call kind of feline essentials. These are from my 25 years of cat ownership and being a cat person my whole life. This is what I call kind of the essential things you'll need if you're adopting a cat, whether it's your first cat or you're adopting a second or third cat. These are the basic things that I have that work for me, that have worked for my cats over the years. I just thought I'd kind of share that with you and kind of give you a guide as to what you need when you're bringing a cat home for the first time, again, or bringing home a companion cat or even a third companion cat. So these are the basics. These are the essential things that I think everyone who adopts a cat should have. So I'm going to break this into the basic essential things that a cat needs, which is food, some food, sleep, bathroom, play. Those are the basic things that when you adopt a cat and when you agree to bring a cat home, what you agree to do, provide them a home, provide them food, provide them water, provide them a place to go to the bathroom and a place to sleep. So this is what has worked for me. Obviously, if you have different opinions, please feel free to put them in the comments. You can comment on Spotify, you can comment on YouTube as well. And I'll have a link at the end of the podcast with it's a link tree that has all the links where you could find us everywhere on social media. So we'll start with bathroom. So every cat needs a litter box, non-negotiable. Part of pet ownership is every cat needs to go to the bathroom. And unless you want pee and poop all over your house, unless that's your thing, one of the first things you should always buy is a litter box. And I always recommend a hooded litter box. There are obviously some cats, especially younger cats or kittens, that kind of may freak out from a hooded litter box. So make sure it's a hood that is removable. Usually they have latches and you take the hood off when you clean it. So just be prepared that if your cat doesn't go in there, you may need to take the hood off. So get a good litter box, and you could find them in all the stores. You could find them online. Make sure it's a large or a jumbo size. And depending on how big or small your cat is, I still say go for the larger size. Because if you adopt a kitten, that kitten's going to grow into a full adult cat. So most cats like to go in, they turn around, they do their thing, and they'll usually turn around a couple times and then they'll bury the bathroom stuff that they just did. So make sure that it's big enough that your cat could turn around and comfortably and get themselves all the way into and can have privacy. Because most importantly, cats want to have privacy when they're going to the bathroom. So do we all. I don't go to the bathroom with other people around. I don't know if you do. So just make sure the litter box has a hood that is removable. Make sure that it's a good size. Make sure that it's big enough that your cat could turn around it. And what do you put in the litter box? You put litter. I always get a clumping litter, and we have no sponsors on this show, So if I rattle off some brands, it doesn't mean that they're sponsoring. But a good clumping litter like Fresh Step or any of those clumping litters are good. If you have multiple cats, the formula for multiple cats is usually advisable. So, get a good clumping litter. Some cats have sensitive feet. So, keep in mind, especially kittens have very sensitive feet. So the clumping litter is the little pieces, and sometimes they could get in between their toes. So if you have a younger cat, or if you have a cat with very sensitive feet, another option might be that kind of pine-based litter, like feline pine, yesterday's news, and they're more like pellets that disintegrate as the cat uses the litter box. And then you scoop out the waste and then put in fresh litter or dump it out. So, get a good quality litter. And if they're a younger cat, you might want to get the pine-based litter because, sometimes if the kernel gets in between their toes, where the webbing is on a cat or a kitten, it could cause an infection. That happened with Mona. So learn from my mistake. And obviously, if the budget allows, there are smart litter boxes. There are self-cleaning litter boxes that could be hundreds of dollars, some as high as $800. Some have apps connected to them. If your budget allows those, then go for it. I can't imagine my cats liking any of those things, and I've never had one, so I can't speak to those smart, fancy, expensive litter boxes. In this household, I have the basic litter boxes. So litter box. Obviously, you need a scoop for the litter. So get one with a metal handle because those plastic scoops where, it's a scoop with filter in it. So you scoop out the waste and it filters out the litter. Make sure you get one with a stainless steel or a metal handle because I can't tell you how many of those have snapped in half as I've tried to scoop out pee or poop from a litter box. So it may be a couple more bucks, but get the one that has like a metal handle and they'll last you for a long time. I usually get the 4-gallon little plastic trash bags. In the old days, I used to keep the shopping bags from supermarkets, but where I am in New York, they don't allow those. They don't allow plastic bags anymore. So I usually get the 4-gallon little plastic garbage bags that have a pull string or that can tie. I use that for the litter. So the litter box, the scoop, and you might want to invest in those bags as well. That way, when you go and scoop the litter box, you just grab the bag and put the poop in the litter. Put the poop in the bag. Don't put the poop back in the box. And lastly, for litter, I always have litter deodorizer. And that's something I recommend because some of that stuff can be pretty strong smelling. So what I do is I scoop the litter boxes every morning because I have 6 cats. After I scoop out the waste, Arm& Hammer makes them, Fresh Step makes them. It's just a baking soda. There's a baking soda based. There are deodorizing little crystals. So after you scoop out the bad stuff, you do a couple of sprinkles of the deodorizer. You take the scoop and you kind of mix it in, and it kind of freshens it up and keeps it smelling good. I recommend scooping out the litter box at least once a day, even if you have one cat. And I also recommend one litter box per cat. I have 4 for 6, but I scoop them out every day. Some people will try to let it go a couple of days. Some people will scoop once a week. I think the longer you let it go between cleaning it out and that stuff is kind of lingering in the box and the odors will permeate into the litter box. My personal opinion is I think you're asking for litter box issues. And I've had my tiger, Tyler's first roommate, if the box wasn't spotlessly clean, he would poop outside the litter box. So I say clean them every day. Otherwise, you're asking for litter box issues. Just get in the habit of I do it every morning. I feed them after they're done eating. I wash their bowls, and then I scoop out the litter boxes. That way, I can get away with having 4 for 6. If you live in a 2-bedroom apartment, so I don't have the space. But if your home allows for more space, try to have one litter box per cat. But I scoop them every morning, and I haven't had any issues with my cats. So that solves the bathroom part. Now the food. So first of all, food bowls. You can go crazy with food bowls. You can get fancy schmancy food bowls. I have found that ceramic bowls work well, like porcelain ceramic bowls, or the stainless steel bowls are usually the least expensive, just plain stainless steel bowls. If you get the ceramic bowls, try to get them that come in a little stand where there's one for wet food and one for dry, and the bowls sit in a kind of stand. Ceramic bowls, you run the risk of them breaking because cats are not always graceful. Sometimes they knock the bowls over, and if they trip on them, the ceramic bowls could break. Now, I have a ceramic bowl that originally was for Tyler and then for Sophie, and now it's Taylor's bowl. So I've had one ceramic bowl for a very long time. I find the stainless steel bowls work best because they're inexpensive. If they fall or get knocked over, nothing will break, and they're easiest to keep clean. I don't recommend the plastic bowls because the plastic will scratch and sometimes the plastic will shave off into the food. You run the risk of the cat ingesting the plastic. They're not the easiest to keep clean because plastic kind of gets kind of weird after a while. So I've had the best luck with the stainless steel bowls or the ceramic as well if you get a rack, or just be very careful. So get the bowls, obviously. And food is a very subjective, very wide-ranging topic. And there's a lot of factors in place, such as cats that are finicky, cats that are on special diets. My Jackson had urinary tract issues, so he was on a special urinary formula than dry food. But basically, if your cat is just on regular food, first of all, a shop. So if you're adopting from a shelter, more often than not, they'll send you home when it's the day to bring your cat home from the shelter. Best day ever. More often than not, the shelters will send you home with whatever the cat is eating at that time in the shelter. So they'll give you a couple of cans. More often it's Friskies or Nine Lives, just basic quality cat food, and a small bag of dry food or a little Ziploc bag of dry food. Because when you first bring the cat home, they'll want to eat what they're used to eating in the shelter. Even if you want to go out and get the fanciest brand like Tiki Cat or Merrick or any of those fancy expensive brands, it's always a good idea to start with the brand they're having at the shelter. And if the shelter doesn't give you food to take home, you can always ask them, hey, what are they eating right now? And just start with that. And see, my cats will eat anything that I get on sale. Um, you know, they mostly have Purina One, but I've given them Friskies, I've given them Merrick, and my cats are pretty not finicky. Mona is a little finicky, but always start with the food that they're currently eating. And if you want to transition them to a brand that you prefer for your own personal reasons, whether it's a more expensive brand or a different brand or a different kind of diet altogether, you would gradually wean them off of what they're currently eating and then start introducing the new food and start reducing the food you want to phase out. You don't go cold turkey, one brand, and then the next day, hey, look at this. Some cats just may not eat it, and then you're in the risk of them not getting the nutrition they need. So if you want to introduce them to a new brand, or you don't think they're eating a good enough quality brand, or there's a brand you prefer, or there's a brand that your current cat is currently eating, phase them gradually, where you introduce the new and then slowly increase the new and decrease the old. That's definitely the recommendation, and that goes with litter as well. Try to keep them on the litter that they're used to. And if you want to introduce a new litter, again, my cats don't care. I get whatever is on sale that's clumping for multiple cats. My cats, I can make that doesn't matter. But some cats will get very sensitive to that. So at least in the outset, like food and litter, gradually introduce the new and phase out the old. So I do wet food twice a day, and that may vary depending on your cat, if your cat is on a special diet. As I mentioned, your cat, or if you're taking home a kitten, that kitten will need to eat more often, depending on the age of the kitten, every couple of hours or a few times a day. And then you'll need to give them kitten food, a particular kitten wet food, which is formulated for their growing bellies. If you give them adult food, they may disagree with them. I feed my cats wet food in the morning when I wake up, and in the evening, usually when I sign out of work or around dinner time. Try to keep to a regular habit of feedings, especially wet food. Cats are creatures of habit. This is what I love. Among the many things I love about cats is they are creatures of habit. So if you feed them at a certain time, they will expect that food at a certain time. And you'll find them looking at you, hey, it's 8 o'clock. Where's my food? So try to come up with a schedule that works for you and your lifestyle and stick to that schedule. And give them a good teaspoon, tablespoon, or a quarter of a can of wet food in the morning and at night. That's what has worked for me, and I stick to that schedule. But don't give them too much wet food. Don't give them too little, or just make sure that they're finishing it. If they don't like the food that you're offering, or you may want to phase in a different brand. Some cats are just more picky than others. And obviously, if you're on a special diet for the cat, if they have a medical issue, obviously follow the instructions that your vet will tell you. I am no vet. Feeding special diets may require different feeding times. Mine is just for general, regular, non-special diet food. And I always have kibble out for my cats, the dry food. And because I have 6 cats, there's a bunch of bowls all over my home. I have in the kitchen, in the living room, in my office, which is my recording studio. I have in the bedroom. And there's a bowl for each cat so that every cat has access to dry food. They're on Purina 1. So make sure it's a good quality dry food. Again, if you're given a certain dry food from the shelter, same rule, introduce the newer brand and then phase out the older brand. I find the Purina 1 is the favorite of my cats. They all like it. It's easy to digest, and it's a good quality. There are better, my Tyler was on Science Diet. Jackson was on urinary special formula. Sophie had a sensitive stomach, so she was on sensitive stomach food, both wet and dry. So, get a decent quality dry food like a Purina One or Hills is a good brand, or you may already have a brand you prefer if this is not your first cat. And I keep those bowls out all the time, and I'll kind of fill them once a day. And if they get a little empty at the end of the day, that's fine. You don't want to have them overeat and get overweight because a cat, sometimes out of boredom, will just graze food. So, leave enough so that if they want a nosh or have a snack, they can in between meals, but, don't leave a ton. And obviously there are, you know, there are those feeder bowls that have timers. There are fancier bowls that you could always invest in. But I have just larger stainless steel bowls, actually a couple of glass bowls that are dog bowls that I put the dry food in. So everyone has access to dry food. And I wash those bowls once a week because they'll get kind of slimy after a while. So obviously after they eat their wet food, wash the bowls. I use a tiny bit of soap, but it's mostly just hot water because I don't want them to be exposed to chemicals. And with the dry bowls, I will empty them and empty the food, put it back in a container, and I will wash the bowls out once a week. Dry them off, put them back out, just so that they stay clean and there's no germs or bacteria or anything. You don't want to let that go too long and risk them getting sick because the bowls weren't clean. So just get in a good habit of keeping those bowls washed at least once a week. That's what I do. Same with the litter. I wash the litter boxes out once a month because they get kind of bad. They get kind of rank after a while. Even if you're scooping them once a day, which I think you should, they'll pee in a corner, and that corner they'll have a preferred spot that they'll pee in, and it'll get kind of yucky after a while. So once a month, take the litter box, dump the litter out, throw it out, wash it in hot water, give it a good rinse, wipe it down, put new litter in. That's a good habit to do once a month. That keeps it sanitary for them. And also, again, I'm no vet, but it prevents the possibility of them getting sort of behavioral problems if the litter box is kind of smelling kind of bad. I mean, would you want to go in the bathroom that smell bad? So think of it that way. So that's the food. I have treats. I recommend treats. Don't go crazy with the treats. My cats prefer the crunchy treats, but there are all kinds of, there are soft treats. There are treats that have the little kind of paste inside. There are pill pocket treats. There are dental treats. There are treats that are pieces of fish that you break up. They're the squeezable treats that are like churro, which Mona loves and Taylor loves. They're very, very popular. Have a particular recommendation? I say try all the kinds of treats, see what your cat likes, and a couple of treats once a day is also a good kind of way for you to bond with your cat. If you want to associate it with a behavioral thing or when you play with them, there's no rhyme or reason with the treats. Just see what they like, get a couple different brands, kind of just enjoy watching them. Sometimes they'll throw the treats and they'll run and chase after them and then come back, and it kind of gives them a little exercise and stimulations, just handing them the treat. You're making them work for it a little bit. So that's the food. So we've covered the litter and food and sleep. I have various cat beds all over all over my home. So you want to provide them. Every cat is different. Some cats will prefer to hide. Some cats will just sleep with you. Some cats will sleep on you. Some cats will sleep, they'll just go off to a corner and sleep. Provide them with a variety of places to sleep. I'm in a 2-bedroom apartment, so I have little nooks all over my home. And I used to be a museum exhibit designer, so I'm still using those skills and kind of maximizing my space in my 2-bedroom apartment where, I have little baskets that have a blanket in them. I bought a piece of one of those bookcases that are kind of like have cubbies in them to put storage. I don't store anything. I just line those cubbies with blankets. So provide a lot of spaces and areas so that your cat has a variety of locations to go and sleep. Because as our behavior expert, Steve Vaughn mentioned, cats will sleep after they eat to conserve energy. So you think they're just being lazy, but they're conserving the energy they just ingested with the food, according to Stephen. And I believe him because he's an expert. So cats also, in my experience, cats vary where they want to sleep. Most of them don't sleep in the same spot for long. Tucker will sleep on the bed. He'll sleep in one of the boxes he has. I have it under my TV cart. Sometimes he'll sleep in one of the cubbies. Sometimes I have cat trees. Definitely get cat trees for your cats because cats love to climb. So just be sure to, you don't have to buy the most expensive cat bed. Just a basic round fleece bed, or just if you have older blankets, fold them and make a little bed. You don't have to spend a lot of money. Whatever it is, whatever you want to use, just make sure they have a nice, soft, comfortable, safe place to sleep. Even the most loyal lap cat in the world will occasionally want to just go off on their own and sleep. Sometimes they just want to be on their own. And my cats will sleep together. Sometimes they'll cuddle and sometimes they won't. So just be sure you kind of survey your home and be sure to provide them as many spaces as you can so that they have options where to go and sleep. And what we didn't touch upon is water. I have water fountains. I'm a firm believer in water fountains. And this is also a kind of wide-ranging topic because I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, where tap water was very high quality. I now live on Long Island, where the tap water is not quite as good as New York City water. I don't even think New York City water is as good as it used to be. So I have filtered water fountains, and I've had that ever since I had Jackson, who had urinary crystals. He was prone to urinary infections, and a cat with urinary infections has to be encouraged to drink as much as possible to try to prevent the crystals from forming in their urinary tract, their urethra, or whatever that is, the pee area. Generally, in my experience, will be attracted to running water. Tyler and Sophie loved when I turned the sink on at a very light stream and they would drink from the sink or they would splash the water and their or dip their paw and lick their paw. The motion of the water, the running water, is something that cats are attracted to, as opposed to a bowl of static water that's just sitting there. So I highly recommend getting water fountains. And I have 6 water fountains for 6 cats. So try to have, if you have multiple cats, make sure each cat has access to good, clean drinking water. And I highly recommend the water fountains. The brands I've had success with they're online. There's a brand called Veken, Veken, and there are other brands. And there's a variety of water fountains that range from $20 on up, and they all have filters, and you change the filter every 30 days. And I rinse the water fountains out once a week because they'll get kind of slimy and dirty because cats like to dip their paw in the water. Tucker will dip his paws in before he drinks. Rosie will take her paw and drink the water off her paw for a while before she drinks from the fountain. So I rinse them out once a week, but I highly recommend getting at least 1 or 2 water fountains. And if you insist on just putting out a bowl of water, also stainless steel bowls are highly recommended for water. And you get one of those Brita pitchers for your fridge at the very least. Get one of those Brita pitchers for your fridge, and so that you can give them filtered water. The best quality filtered clean water that's free of any whatever crap they put in water, something I highly recommend. And I've had a lot of success with having water fountains. My cats love it. They drink from it. They each have their favorite, even if they're in another room. They have fountains that they prefer. You're giving them a source of constantly filtered, clean, fresh water. So that's something I recommend. Basically, make sure they have access to drinking water, especially when it's summertime. Drinking water is something that is an absolute must, along with food and litter. It's a non-negotiable thing. They have to have access to drinking water. And it's a good way to kind of monitor potential health issues, because if you're seeing them drinking a lot excessively, that could be the problem. So it's always essential that you provide them as much food and litter that you provide them with drinking water. So those are really the basic things that I keep for my cats. And last but not least, obviously toys. Make sure they have, because you want to provide them with safety and love and comfort and food and litter and water and a place to sleep and companionship, but you also want to give them mental stimulation and mental engagement, because cats can get bored. And if they're bored, they'll eat too much, and then they'll get overweight, and that can cause health problems. So we don't have to go crazy expensive with toys. Basic. My cats always like the little catnip mice that have tails that they could bat around the house, or catnip balls, or catnip little puffy things. Just basic plush toys that every pet store has, every major store like Target or Walmart would have. Most cats like catnip because it's gets them a little crazy and makes them very playful. So make sure you have some toys around, and you don't have to go crazy. Just something. Most cats will like to bat something around, or you could throw it and they'll chase it and bring it back to you, or a little kind of bouncy foam ball that you can bounce. So it gives them the opportunity to get exercise and stimulation, and you bond with them if you're throwing the toy and bringing it back. So it helps keep them healthy, and you get the bond with your cat. A lot of my cats will bring me toys when they want to play. Tyler, in particular, used to bring me his toys, and if I didn't play with him, he'd start to unplug things, turn off my TV. So definitely a good idea to have toys. There are fancy toys, there are smart toys, there are electric toys. You get toys on tracks where they kind of bat a ball and it runs around a track, or a spiral kind of track. I haven't had as much luck with those as just basic catnip mice and a little catnip ball, puffy ball things that they'll bat around the house, or the string on the plastic stick so you can the teaser toys, so that they can kind of whack at it, and that's another way for you to bond with them. I've had the most luck with those, but there are so many different kind of toys and types of toys. Get a variety. Don't expect them to love every single toy you get them. Some they'll like, some they'll have no interest in. So you just have to kind of play it by ear and trial by fire and kind of play it out and see which ones they like. So get different types. Uh, you know, they're all pretty reasonably priced. And whichever toys you find your cat is attracted to, get those kind of toys or varieties of those. So provide that as well, stimulation. Interact with your cat. Talk to your cat. I've talked about that in previous episodes. Just share your life with your cat. Don't be afraid to bitch to them about work or bitch to them about your significant other or your dating life or whatever. Just talk to your cat. You took that cat home from a shelter or a rescue because you wanted to give them love and give them a forever home. They'll appreciate it. They'll pick up on you sharing your life with them and just be there with them. You know what I mean? Even be sure to also get a brush. I almost forgot that. I've had the same brush since Tyler. And not every cat likes to be brushed, but get a decent cat brush. And I brush Taylor. They all like it, but Taylor will wait for it. He loves to be brushed. That's another way to kind of prevent hairballs, prevent matting if you have a long-haired cat. And also it's a way to bond with your cat because cats will, if cats are bonded or get along, they'll lick each other's heads. The cleaning of each other's heads is how they kind of bond with each other. It's a show of affection, from what I understand. It's a show of love. It's not like, ugh, your head's dirty. It's a way to show bonding and to get close to each other. And it's kind of the same thing when you brush them. So just be with your cat, share your life with your cat. Your cat, it will love you no matter what. And there's no love greater than unconditional feline love. And those essentials, those basic things that I talked about will definitely help you have the best possible life with your cat. So that's what I think you need. And I just thought I'd put an episode out and share that. If you have anything that I missed or anything you prefer, I'd love to hear about it. So please, reach out, leave a comment or reach out to us on social media. And thank you so much. This has been episode 53, and we'll see you in the next episode. Love your cats, adopt, don't shop, support your local rescue, and we'll see you in episode 54. Bye for now.
But wait, there's more. Do you believe I forgot something? How could I do that? I had a script and an outline, and I planned out the episode. And I still forgot another important element or essential or cat basic that you need. Scratching posts. How could I forget that? And I call myself a podcast host. Harumph. Yes, you definitely need scratching posts. I have cat trees that have scratching ropes built into them, but I find that the ropes will unravel after time and then you have to kind of rewrap them and that's involved. I also have scratching boards that are on, flat with the ground. I have platformed scratching boards that are like on a ramp that particularly my Taylor and Mona like to go up the ramp and scratch their claws. I even have a few that are nailed to the wall and, various corners of my home. So there's plenty of places for scratching. And obviously, cats that have issues with scratching furniture, we've discussed in previous episodes with Stephen Kwan. But, as long as your cat, knows where to go, and most scratching boards and posts come with catnip. Otherwise, if you get a little catnip and you sprinkle it on the scratching where you want them to scratch, scratching boards, the scratching poles on trees, be sure to sprinkle a little catnip, and that will help entice them to go where the catnip is to scratch. And that usually prevents them going to scratch where you don't want them to scratch, such as your furniture. So yeah, I forgot that. I'm so sorry. Are you really mad at me about that? I don't think so. So with that, this is episode 53, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now. Meow.